Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/InGeneral. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Hello and welcome to episode 68 of the InGeneral podcast. This is Chris today hosting because Assis dropped out at the last minute, and I'm joined with Ryan, who has not been on the podcast for quite some time.
Yo, it's good. I'm good. It's good. Yeah, it has been a long time, really long time, but it's good to be back.
No, honestly, it's great. It's great to hear your voice on the other end of the microphone. There.
Man, it's good to hear your voice too. That's so sweet.
I know. It makes me feel comfortable, you know?
Does it really?
You're like, ugh.
Okay. Your voice soothes
This
me.
guy clearly doesn't know me well enough.
I mean, I was always told. I mean, so in college, I did like a year's worth of a year's worth. I did a year of weekend DJing in my college town. And
yeah.
It kind of has a little bit of a broad reach. I mean, it kind of reached where I currently live now in Eastern Washington, and it was pop music, top 100, which is not typically the type of music I listen to, but this guy told me like I had this really nice voice at a bar one night, and I thought it was kind of weird, to be honest with you. But then I found out he was the morning show DJ, and then I ended up getting a gig on. And long story short, I had a few people kind of tell me that like my voice was like weirdly soothing, and it's still weird, but you're not the first to tell me that, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, you know, see, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I find interesting? You have a lot of interesting sort of music related stories in your past.
Yeah? Do I really?
I feel like there's one other one, we won't get into it, that you told us in Philadelphia that definitely amused me.
Wait, no, let's get into it. I'm an open book.
Yeah? So, is there any other music stories that you did something in the past that's sort of interesting?
Wait. Oh, man, am I going to regret this? What is it? Wait, just tell me what it is. There's so many musical stories. I mean...
Weren't you basically, like, in a boy band or something?
Oh, shit. Not... Technically, no. Okay, so, really... Okay.
You're like, oh god, I didn't remember telling him that one.
No, I know. I mean, I've told some people, but, like, here's the thing. I look fond... It was a year of my life, and I look fondly on that year of my life, because, like, the people who were in it and everything were really cool, and I mean... And it was fun. It was during my sophomore year of high school, and in my hometown, we had this group called SOS, which stood for Singers on Stage, and we just did covers of like popular music and like new and old, and we'd perform at malls, junior highs, high schools. But there were four guys. We were all in high school, and we all kind of blended well. And there were definitely some songs that we did that were like boy band. Anyway, I also, if you want to know, in high school had bleach frosted tips. So I actually kind of had the look of it as well.
You were really living that life.
Bro, it was the 2000s, or the early 2000s. the turn of the millennia, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you showed us a picture while we were in Philly, if I recall correctly. I think you showed us like one picture. It was an interesting. We were all like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. I know that my wife has definitely posted a picture of me like in the like it's like a spandexy kind of black t-shirt and kind of baggy black pants, black shoes. I mean, we were all black, and the girls would wear like zebra leather pants. I mean, it was... it's
I love it.
Talking about it now, I'm just like kind of rolling my eyes and shaking my head a little bit. But you know, at the time, you know, whatever. You know.
Hey, it sounds like good times. You enjoyed it then, and that's what counts. And you can tell it now as a funny story, which is also what counts. So you sort of got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good time. I mean, like I said, I look fondly back on it, but it was, I mean, it was, yeah, you could say it was weird.
Anyways,
let's talk dinosaurs.
Let's talk about dinosaurs. Yeah, there's a lot that we need to cover. Even I think there was news that dropped before our last podcast, but none of us had actually spoken in person about the trailer, or really talked to anyone about the trailer before the last podcast. So we all just kind of like exploded outward with like such a strong emotional reaction, and not necessarily a positive one, that I think that for one thing it kind of hindered a good discussion. Like it was just sort of like, screw this, screw that, everything sucks. And as time has gone on, I'm like, my optimism has returned. I'm not saying I loved everything about the trailer. Like my opinions haven't changed, but maybe my strong emotional reaction has. And also there's a lot more news that we can cover that we didn't necessarily get a chance to talk about in the last podcast.
Sweet. Yeah, it's been so, I mean, it's kind of been, I feel like a blur in the past 5 months, not only in like my life, but just in like, especially in the Jurassic, like I kind of just don't really have a sequential idea as to what's really been happening.
It's weird because there's both been a lot of news and not a lot of news. And the reason why I say that is there was like sort of that blitz of a news campaign, a media campaign leading up into the trailer, and then the trailer dropped, and then it went quiet again.
Yeah, then that was it.
But there's been like a lot of little bits of news, like from interviews with J.A. Bayona and Colin Trevorrow, like tiny little quotes that really aren't news on their own, but they're definitely worth discussion. And there's been a lot of merchandise happenings. And there's like a lot of that, but it's not sort of what you'd expect. Like, there's not like a big update on the Jurassic World website. There's dinosaurprotectiongroup.com, the Bio website has launched, but it's all you can do is sign up for an email right now, like to get an email. So it's sort of been radio silence, but we are approaching the Super Bowl trailer, assuming it happens. Last we heard it is, but things like that do change. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom will have like a 1 minute long TV spot during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teases, and I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't. I think we've heard that it is definitely going to happen.
Well, it was locked in at a point in time, that's for sure. I mean, but I won't say, I haven't seen anything like specifying it in like 2 months or so. So it's not to say it couldn't have changed, but I really doubt it has changed.
Yeah, I mean, don't be surprised if we don't, with how things kind of work within that world.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's official, or nothing's locked, set in stone until it actually happens with Hollywood, particularly.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's going to be interesting to see how tight they keep things, or how loose all of a sudden, when the floodgates open, if they ever do open. I mean,
yeah,
right now the biggest it's like, and the other thing too right now is, it's like, I was just telling Chris before this podcast, like, part of this burnout that I've kind of experienced too, as to like why I feel like there's been this blur, or this feeling that I've had of like, maybe it's kind of been this burnout towards Jurassic, because there has been this weird lack or combination of just things that have got me hyped, but then haven't got me hyped. It's gonna, like, the only thing I can look forward to now is like when the Super Bowl trailer drops, and then what are people going to talk about then, and then seeing comparisons, like you throw in color corrections of like the differences between trailer 1 and trailer 2. Notice the templates in the back and how they've changed. I mean, just like we did with with Jurassic World.
Little fun things like that. Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to mention real quick as an aside, when I go and put things like that up on Twitter, it's mainly for my own amusement and for other people's amusement. Like, there's not necessarily an underlying narrative. In the past, I don't think people went looking for that narrative, but with the Fallen Kingdom trailer, like, people seem to try to find like hidden meanings to my tweets and assume some sort of negative connotation. And man, were people just attacking me left and right, like assuming that I was trying to make some sort of statement. I'm like, dude, I'm just posting a picture that looks cool and saying, hey, this is what it looks like this way, or I'm just posting it. Like, there wasn't some grander meaning. I wasn't trying to like make some sort of resounding statement. It's for fun.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like, we all get really passionate about what we perceive as, like, what this franchise does for us personally. It speaks to everybody in a completely different way. And I, with all things, have kind of been like one where I see both sides, and I'm in a more of a moderate point of view. But with this, I mean, dude, I thought you were justified in what you were saying. I thought people at the same time who, I only read a few of the tweets, but I thought it was funny that, some people said what they said about your tenacious feelings and attitude towards the franchise and the design of it. And I think it's justified because what you're saying rings true. Like, there might, to some, they're minute details, but like, look, if you look at the Rex and you see that scene over the volcano, like, it's glorious. Yes, it looks fantastic. It could be better, though, in the sense because Rex does look different than she has in the past, and there are differences in the way that she like kind of overall looks, and you can call it age, and you can call it whatever you want, but there is a aesthetic that is kind of burned, especially with some of us that are older, in that, I mean, that will simply not go away. And it's not like we're not okay with change. Change is great, but you're bringing a character that was the same character 20 years ago, and the differences are kind of a little too much.
Well, yeah. Well, what's interesting about the T-Rex is I think the T-Rex, I mean, I call it a movie monster, but that's not sort of what I think it should be depicted as. But it's one of the most iconic movie monsters of all time, the Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex. So I find it really fascinating that they changed her overall silhouette and especially her skull structure.
Yeah.
I totally get that there should be changes because of age, but the thing is, it's not really recognizable. The only thing that really ties it together are the scars from the raptor attack.
Exactly.
And those who know the movie are like, oh yeah, it is the Rex, but there's a lot of really key defining features that I think were characteristic of the Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex that are sort of like muted. They're sort of rounded off. They're sort of blurred away. Like they're there, but they're like sort of softened. It's like they met a middle ground with something else, and it just no longer sort of has that striking, oh yeah, it's that T-Rex. There's nothing inherently wrong with the Tyrannosaur design in Jurassic World if it were its own animal. I mean, it can look weird from some angles because of its very skinny neck and sort of proportions. It can kind of look like a giant bobblehead if you don't film it from the right angle. But then if you see it from another angle, you go, oh man, it looks great. And then you look at it from another angle and you go, oh man, it looks goofy. And that's just, what you're seeing there is just the effect of the lens, the way lens captures things. Just like if you ever go to take a picture of yourself and you throw on the selfie camera and you're like, oh god. And then someone else takes the picture and like, okay, I look normal there. I mean, that's just lens distortion. I mean, the reality is, oftentimes, there's a very real reason why we perceive these things as looking different from one angle and not in another.
Yeah. And I mean, again, but at the same time, it's like, I'm okay. I'm not necessarily like butthurt over the change, because at the same time, I wish the design kind of rang truer to the original. I mean, if you look at Chris next to the eye of the Rex during that scene in the trailer, and you compare it to when Lex and in the Jeep in Jurassic Park, I mean, there are structural differences just in the eye socket alone that make it different,
Yeah, that wouldn't be different because of age. Now, to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's defense, it seems like they're sticking with the structural style that they developed for Jurassic World. So it's not like Fallen Kingdom necessarily. It's not like the people at Neil Scanlon's studios are at fault with this. Like, they are sticking to what IOM created for Jurassic World. Which is sort of understandable. I kind of wish they would have made some changes, like even some small tweaks to the skin, like the texture type, like the scale pattern on the jaw. They're entirely different types of scales. In Jurassic Park, they were sort of rounded, deeper, and they were smaller. And in Jurassic World, they're really wide and flat, and they're like a completely different skin texture. And it's really weird. It looks like it would belong to like a different animal almost. And that's a carryover from Jurassic World's design that it especially stands out now that we have the return of a practical T-Rex, which is awesome. But like the differences sort of stand out even more. Even if that does look very Jurassic Parky, it doesn't look like the Jurassic Park Rex. It just looks like a Jurassic Park Rex.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like,
if that makes sense.
The skin texture, I didn't get. I mean, that's on a level where I'm not quite paying attention. But like when you pointed out like the Brachiosaurus head compared to the previous and those kind of things, I mean, there are real differences compared to the original. And if you're, and if it's been the first time since, I mean, we saw Brachiosaurus in Jurassic Park 3, I don't really count that because I think the CGI is terrible and the coloration is different and it just looks fat and chubby and
it's its own subspecies.
It's just
I think the best way to look at it.
I mean, that's cool. And this Brachiosaurus obviously different. They all can look the same or can look different. Snouts can range and so like when I think of it that way, it's like okay, because I've only seen really one or two up close and that was in the first, but like they still kind of look the same. The one in the tree with Grant and or when Grant and Ellie first saw the Brachiosaurus, I mean, that skull structure was similar to the puppet that came into the trees. So, I mean, there were similarities there, and this one, like, has an elongated snout. It's different. I mean, the neck is not as long. It's like a subadult.
Smaller.
You could, and that's what people were saying, like, well, it's a subadult. I mean, sure.
And cool. And you know what? If the movie shows other brachiosaurs that are developed like the Jurassic Park one, and here's the thing, if it is supposed to be, like if they went into it and said, hey, we want to make a brachiosaur design that is reminiscent of the classic design, but different, because we want to imply that Masrani Global changed the design, that's great, but it's sort of confusing as a viewer because you shouldn't necessarily be left going like, hey, that doesn't quite, like it's too close to the original to be like, oh, it's cool, it's a new design, yet like different enough for like someone like me to be like, oh my god, that's perfect, that is the dinosaur of my childhood. It's like, oh, it sort of looks stumpy and awkward. It's not majestic anymore. It's kind of derpy.
Yeah, I mean, here's an example that I try to compare it to like ground myself. If you look at the Alien franchise and you look at Alien, 1 through whatever, the design is still the Alien, but there are, I mean, if you're an Alien fanatic, there are major differences between the design of the Alien through 1 and 5. And you can ultimately say that the design is cooler or it's not as cool or you like this. And I mean, so that in a sense, it's like, okay, well, that has design elements and change, and that's an iconic character. Same with Predator. There's been subtle differences there and how the design changes there. So, I mean, Kong over time, I mean, that's free and open for that to change.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I guess
it's
like you're playing with something, but at the same time, you just want some people like us, I guess, to kind of have that element of, oh, I want to feel like a kid again and see like my Rexy, like the Rexy of, and it's like and we question why it doesn't quite look like that, but then at the same time, it's just nice to know like, hey, it's still Rexy. It's it's Roberta, whatever her name is. It's she's and that's kind of in the end, I'm like, well, okay, let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes frustrating when you hear the behind-the-scenes stories, though, and you find out, like, oh, that's why it looks different, when you're like, oh, they didn't have proper reference material, and they've been candid about it, that like, oh, yeah, we wanted it to look more like the classic, and it was only afterwards that we found out, oh, we didn't quite get it there. So when you hear these stories from Jurassic World, and you jump into Fallen Kingdom, and then the design hasn't changed, you're kind of left like, but why? You guys said you realized that it wasn't exactly where you wanted it. Why didn't you take this opportunity to really like pay homage to the classic, the original, and the super fans? And all the casual fans that don't care, they're not going to care if it changes. Or even the super fans who also, there are plenty, I'm not going to imply that you're a casual fan if you don't care about something like this. Even the super fans that notice these things but necessarily don't mind or care, they're not going to complain that something looks more like the classic design again. I mean, they're going to go, oh, cool, yeah, looks like those people got what they wanted. Cool, I don't mind either way. I still like it. And I think that that's really what it comes down to, is the only people that are really going to notice, the only changes that you can make by reverting to a sort of more classic design is probably by pleasing the super fans, and I don't think you're going to really upset anybody along the way, unless there's some sort of major backtracking, like if they really evolved as a design in a new way. And to talk about Alien, the designs differing from movies, that's sort of what I look at the Velociraptors in the franchise, because we always get all these sort of subversions of the Velociraptor, and I'm always excited to be like, oh, what will the new Raptor design look like? Right. That was like one of the big points of discussion leading up into Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 4, is what will the new Raptors look like? Because that's like the one thing that you can always bank on having a unique design.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. That's something that I always look forward to. It's not... I don't know, I guess there's certain designs, certain sort of background featured dinosaurs, that necessarily... I don't think they fully support a rotating design of subtle but similar changes, like the Brachiosaur. It's almost like Uncanny Valley. It's almost like Uncanny Valley of a Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus, if that makes sense. Like, it's close, but it's not quite there. Because your brain's trying to see it as, at least for me, I'm trying to see it as a Jurassic Park Brachiosaurus, and I'm kind of going about, like, why does it look so funky? And it's a small thing. But I think that's sort of the differentiation I have in my mind between that and something like Velociraptors getting new designs, movie to movie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, and when I just saw Brachiosaurus, I was like, hell yes. I could kind of tell immediately
I got excited
that it was a little different, but I mean, I just don't care. I mean...
That was, when I saw the trailer for the first time, when I saw that, I was like, yes, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looks way better than Jurassic Park 3 subspecies, whatever. I mean, this is the articulation in the neck and everything, even though it looks... And the color, it looks great. I mean, it does look kind of like a Papo design, but I mean, the Papo design was based off of the original, so I mean, there's elements there, and that's all I care about. It's like, hey, you threw in elements, it's a Brachiosaurus, thank you. And, you know, and to kind of just throw in my 2 cents about the trailer overall, like, I thought, you know, that's kind of how I felt.
Be candid.
That's kind of how I felt really about the whole thing. It's like I don't think we saw the whole movie. I'm not one of those. Well, yeah, that's because I just, you know.
Because you know, it's because you know better.
I know things, you guys. Anyway, but it's not the whole movie. And then I'm so excited that Bayona's got the helm of this, and the tone and the style of it I thought was great.
You like the tone? Because
I thought whatever. I'm definitely one of those the 2 minute long, whatever, the preview that we had that had the extra scenes.
Oh, the behind the scenes featurette.
Yeah, I mean that definitely should have been the trailer. That was fantastic.
Honestly, that was really, really good. The behind the scenes featurette was. I really loved everything that they showed there, and some of it was really unique and different for Jurassic Park. And it's funny because it goes to show you can really do some new things with Jurassic Park with it still feeling like Jurassic Park. I mean, you had Owen walking through a mansion firing some sort of like assault rifle automatic weapon, and yet it somehow still felt Jurassic Park more so than people running around on the island with dinosaurs on it in some of the scenes. And I find that really fascinating, that it comes down to sort of tone and content. And delivery of the content.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. It's gonna be. I mean, the movie's gonna be stuffed. You got a volcano. You've got a pretty heavy subplot / main plot / second half plot / Indoraptors. I mean, you've got it's. I mean. People are going to say it's the Lost World 2.0 meets, God, I don't know, just a good Bayona horror, hopefully, because if he brings the scare tactic back in any way, that's the only thing that I felt was lacking in Jurassic World. And so, my trailer reaction is very mixed. I was pretty psyched to see some stuff, but at the same time, I'm kind of one of those where it's like, Bryce and Chris, like, enough already. And starting off, I hope that the character development in this movie changes this for me, because I'm only going off Jurassic World and the cheese ball that was kind of
it was a little too much.
Let's get something straight. I love me some Chris Pratt. I love Chris Pratt. and I love Bryce Dallas Howard. It was just the dynamic between the two and their characters in Jurassic World I thought was just a little over the top and
It's not necessarily that they lacked chemistry entirely, but I do feel like their chemistry together wasn't as good as it should have been. But also, a lot of it comes down to just the delivery and, like, sort of, I mean, you know, sort of the way they wrote it, to be honest with you. It's not necessary. It lacked subtlety.
There were parts, I'm only going to say, I'm not going to get into this, but I mean, like, if anybody like remembers like the different ways that Owen said their dinosaurs wow enough, and the first version that was like, or the one that was in the trailer, and the way that he delivered that was so much better than
I don't know why they changed that.
Than the one that's in the, like, little things like that, like those are like maybe silly details to some, but those are enough that like make me go like, oh, the way he said that, like, that shit's real. Like, yeah. Like, yeah. Like, not their dinosaurs wow enough. Like, what did you say? Like, did he mumble just now? Or
there was no emphasis put on. There's like sort of no emotion in the take that they did. And what's interesting is I think they over emoted some of the scenes that should have maybe had something a little bit more of a subtle delivery. And like sometimes they had a little bit more of a cartoony comic book style reading of the way humans interact. As opposed to Jurassic Park's subtle and realism. I mean, you have a sort of a romance plot, but not really a plot, but you have Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler. The movie never really... It's such a really mature and dynamic relationship that they have. And even when Malcolm kind of tries to swoop in, the movie doesn't make a big joke about it. It doesn't call your attention to it. It's real and it's human and it feels natural. And everyone acts like mature goddamn adults about it. And in Jurassic World, it would be like a one-liner, and it would call its attention to it if they did that again, and it would, or like the friend zone scene with Lowry. Just like, it's funny. It totally takes me out of the movie. If it were in its own movie, it's well directed, it's well written. It's totally in the wrong movie and in the wrong part of that movie as well, because we just had this really tense scene. There was no reason to break up the tension that was building with that scene. And that really added nothing to the movie, other than some cheap laughs at Lowry's expense.
I'll say this, though, like, because, I mean, we were talking about Ellie, like, Laura Dern, my girl. I have such a more, like, fondness for her this year. I mean, I've always loved Laura, but especially seeing her in Star Wars, I'm like, God,
it's so cool to see her in Star Wars.
She's the queen. I mean, Laura, I hope she comes back. But same. Yeah, the way that she delivered in Jurassic Park could be like subtle and kind of like funny and like kind of whimsical, but then like, I mean, she got serious. And I think we're going to maybe see a little bit more of that in Bryce in this one. I'm excited to see Daniela. Honestly, the girl power that's going to be in this movie, and then Lockwood's is it Malcolm's widow or Lockwood's wife?
Oh, we don't. Honestly, we have no idea. Are you talking about Geraldine Chaplin?
Yeah, who's she?
Honestly, we have no idea. Like, there's not even we don't even have an insider scoop on that. We have no idea.
And it's actors like that, actresses like that, and actors like even Lockwood James. What's his face?
Jeez. James Crowley? No.
Lockwood, anyway. Like, just him, that actor, seeing him in the behind the scenes, like, I mean, there's I think a groundness that we saw flashes of in Jurassic World 2 that is going to be like that, like they've been saying this whole time. It's going to be scary, and it can still be big and scary and have all this stuff mashed into it. Like I said, man,
James Cromwell,
thank you. I'm just excited Bayona's got the helm, and we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see, especially I'm really excited to see the new characters, like you said, like Daniela Pineda, Zia Rodriguez is their character, or
even Justin Smith. Like, yeah, I can kind of see his character. He's already kind of kind of a bumbling nerd, and he might be that Lowry in this movie, and I'm kind of excited to see that.
I just hope that the delivery is a little bit more subtle than the way Lowry was, or the way that high-pitched scream with the baryonic scene sort of...
I love that, though, man. I thought it was funny.
It's funny, don't get me wrong, I gotta laugh, but I know it's gonna bug me in the movie, you know what I mean? Like, in the grander picture of things, like...
Yeah,
I don't know,
that
seems like a better gag. That seems like a better gag take that would be on the Blu-ray rather than, like, a actual theatrical take, if that sort of makes sense. Like, I like Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is such a unique movie in terms of its tone and delivery, but also its adventurous content. And Jurassic World sort of brings it back to, like, the way a lot of other Hollywood blockbusters are depicted. So things like that, those gags, like, I can kind of live without them. Like, I'd rather it go back to the more subtle delivery of things.
You know, I think honestly, what it boils down to, man, is, like, my generation. I mean, I know just like a few years. Well, I know I'm not that old, much older than you, but, like, you know, when I speak of 90s movies in general, I mean, I was a kid in the 90s, and 90s movies, especially, like, pre-97, like, you look at Jumanji, you look at Jurassic Park, like, they're all considered kids movies, but, like, man, there are some dark kids movies when you look at it, and I mean, honestly, like, I mean, it never scarred me, and honestly, it grounded me, I think, at an earlier age than some of the movies do now, because, you know, you can still keep it slightly cheeseball, but then, like, add a little scare factor.
I don't know, would you call Twister a kids movie? Because I feel like Jurassic Park was sort of made in more like the vein of Twister or something.
Twister is a blockbuster movie, summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah, I would call Jurassic Park a summer blockbuster rather than a kids movie. I think it's more of a movie that families can enjoy. Okay, but yeah, I don't think it was made for kids the way, like, Jumanji was, where Jumanji was like a kids block. Sorry, I take that. I don't mean it in the sense of, like, PG or, like, this was, you know, we're back, a dinosaur story. What I meant to say was, like, when Crichton and Spielberg even admitted to, like, the underlying kind of one of the underlying messages or tones of the Jurassic franchise is it's kind of essentially made for kids, because we all have that internal awe that stemmed from our youth, you know, and the movie, Spielberg at least, intended it to be kind of for kids, but still add that scare factor. And, like, no matter how scary we want it to be, it's still going to be kind of made in the end for the youth. But you don't have to add too much of a cheeseball factor. And I think Bayona, hopefully, fingers crossed, he does a great job of adding emotion. Holy shit, does he do a great job of adding emotion to his scenes. So if there's a balance of, like, you know, sure, give me some of that cheese, but then you scare me in the next few minutes and give me some of that, like, great. You just, like, you tugged at all of my emotions, and that's what a movie kind of should do. Or at least a movie like that. Yeah, I get that. I do kind of hope maybe it goes back to a sort of more Jurassic Park delivery, where things were just handled a little bit more with a little bit more subtlety. Jokes weren't necessarily called out as much. But, you know.
Oh no, man! Well, first you have Chris Pratt, so that's not. I mean, he's kind of a little more serious, yes, but, like, that's just how movies are kind of made now, man. I mean, there's that. It's kind of that the Nolan versus or like the DC versus the Marvel. Like, you can't have. That's a bad comparison. It's movies now have that cheeseball kind of factor to
Blockbusters
them.
do.
Blockbusters do. Because
studios, because it's easier to make a general audience digest it, because to make a general audience digest a more subtle and serious movie, the movie needs to be goddamn good, the way Jurassic Park was. Because otherwise it just kind of comes off a little bit dry, I think. So I think that interjecting the sort of really kind of punchy humor and cheese is an easy way to elicit an emotional reaction. It's, you know...
Yeah.
I think it's easier to kind of make a less clever movie more enjoyable with those types of elements.
Yeah. But, I mean, dude, I have faith. We should...
But there's a lot to talk about.
We should, branch off.
But that was sort of the more... I think the discussion that needed to happen about the trailer, anyhow. It was it was an actual discussion.
Look, I think there's going to be... I think it's going to be better than Jurassic World. I mean, and that gets me excited. I think Blue looks great.
Yeah. Oh my God, Blue looks fantastic.
She's lost some weight, girl. She's
shorter.
You got off that human-fed diet, and that pork, all that. You're eating too much bacon, and she went back.
She looks like a velociraptor now.
Yes,
like a Jurassic Park velociraptor, which is cool. I don't know. It just,
she looks good.
Even the way she moves, man, like it feels so much more velociraptor.
Oh man!
Like, do you think they've gone back to keyframe animation rather than mocap?
Probably a mix. Because we know that they're doing. Not with that scene. Obviously, that was too quick. I mean, her jumping on the Jeep. That's too fast and too fluid for it to be any sort of motion cap.
Yeah.
That she's so violent and fast in that, and that's
jerky. And it kind of reminds me of The Lost World. Those raptors in that movie were so wild. Yeah. They were so wild, man. They were quick. They were tiny. They were aggressive, and they were scary.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that, I thought, yes, that's what I was hoping for. They were all too fat and chunky and chubby, and good riddance.
Yeah, I really like. I don't know, everything I've seen there, I love.
And the volcano thing, it's like
it's cool.
Let's see what happens. We're gonna.
I think a volcano in Jurassic Park is such a cool idea. I just hope the execution's there, because I think honestly the idea is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense, and I mean it's been alluded to in the books at least, and thermal heating. That's been mentioned. I don't know if
geothermal.
And that's what the pipes are in The Lost World. I've mentioned that before. If you check back in some of our previous episodes.
Oh God, I don't even know what episode that was.
Yeah, I have no idea. But the large pipes in the village, those are the geothermal piping. So it's definitely. I mean, it makes sense.
We should do an article about that. Like that would be a cool article that people would enjoy reading about. Sort of like the references of volcanic activity in both the movies and the books, so that it can kind of tie the canon together for those that are interested in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's definitely been alluded to, but so what haven't we? I mean, it's been just a month of toys.
It really has, and it's about to get even more interesting once New York Toy Fair rolls around. But we'll talk about that when we close out the podcast.
And then, Evolution's coming out.
Yeah, there's been like a tiny little tease with some additional footage from IGN, where it included the what dinosaurs did it include? I think it had an Edmontosaurus. Yes, the Edmontosaurus, which is cool because it's based off of the Jurassic World website design. Mm-hmm. Even though that wasn't official movie art, they decided to embrace it, and honestly, I think it looks pretty cool.
Yep, Ceratosaurus looks the same as JP3.
Which is awesome.
Yep. And then you've got this weird freaking looking, call it a Deinonychus if you will, but that's not my Deinonychus. Hashtag not my Deinonychus.
Looks like something Guillermo del Toro would design.
No.
And in that right, it looks cool. It just doesn't look like it should be in a Jurassic Park video game.
That looks like something sci-fi would make for Carnotaur 16.
Oh, fair. I guess I'm looking at that thing on its head and thinking of Pacific Rim. It's kind of I could see that being a skull for a kaiju or something.
First of all, the skull is way off. If anybody knows, the Velociraptor design is based actually off of a Deinonychus, like a real Deinonychus. So when you're looking at a Velociraptor, essentially you're looking at in the movies, you're looking at a Deinonychus without feathers. And sure, it could have had a frill, but I mean, the skull is just. And the eye placement is.
The eye is weird. I removed the crest off of its head, and then I'm like, oh God. When I saw what it looked like, I'm like, maybe not.
It's like one of those one of those squeezy things that you see at the gas station where its eyeball or poop comes out the plastic. I mean, it's like somebody squeezed that thing's neck and its eyeballs popping out.
They seem like they're at the wrong spot of the skull. You know what? I really like the color though. Take the weird design out of it. Yeah. I really do like the color and the pattern.
I mean, it's the subtle, look of the game. I know it's in-game footage, but I mean, even if we're gonna, we're gonna get a dumbed down version of it, regardless. Still, it's way beyond any sort of Jurassic Park game that we've had before.
I'm pretty sure this is what it'll look like on PC.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it might. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some real differences. So with who's developing this again?
Frontier, and I've looked at some of their other games and sort of they're in like the close-up camera mode, and honestly the quality of the content's pretty strong. So I definitely believe that this is what it looks like in game, and with a good PC.
They did Park Builder or Coaster and that stuff too.
Yeah.
Okay, then yes, that's right.
If anything, I would say the colors are a little washed out.
But that's how they were in JP,
I guess. It reminds me a little bit of the color palette of Jurassic Park 3, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and we're getting that red raptor that we were kind of possibly getting in Jurassic.
That's true.
World,
but yeah, no, the game looks fantastic. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I imagine we're going to get more news about it soon. Yeah, I feel like the Deinonychus, the design is a little weak, a little funky, but we also know that from what we understand about the game, you get to not mix the DNA, but alter the DNA of dinosaurs to kind of affect their design.
So maybe might be what we're seeing.
Maybe this isn't the base level of the dinosaur. Maybe this is sort of funky, topped out version of the design.
Then that's cool. I mean, I didn't factor that in because I forgot about that. But
I feel like it's unlikely because it would kind of be a weird way to first show off the dinosaur by showing off its sort of funky version. Yeah. But it might be a way to show, hey, we've got some weird dinosaurs in this game. And if that is the case, I can kind of take it a lot more because being able to have a normal looking Deinonychus and then turn it into that would be pretty fun.
As long as they have the Carnotaurus.
I think every dinosaur from Fallen Kingdom will be in the game. I think that's safe.
That Carnotaurus looks
perfect.
Dank Lachey. That Empire image, holy crap. That got me hyped.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. I mean, it is the way I always imagine a Jurassic Park Carnotaurus to look like.
Exactly. And this reminds me of when they released the image with Chris underneath the Jeep and the teeth, and everybody's like, is that real?
Because I wouldn't say it's that good, but it is definitely good.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you can tell obviously that it's CGI, but I mean, it's also early CGI, and that looks good.
Yeah, I really like the design of it. I bet you it's going to make a really cool looking toy. Hopefully, New York Toy Fair answers that question.
For sure.
But yeah, no, I really do like the look of that. So yeah, they really didn't add much new they put that image out, but there was some interest that came from Empire, and J.A. Bayona mentioned some interesting things in that article. The first thing is he said they're opening the movie with a massive action piece that almost feels like a James Bond prologue. Which is really interesting. That sounds like they're gonna have a lot of people complain that Jurassic World did not start out with an inciting incident the way the other movies have. So
it's interesting that he said that he referred it to a Bond-esque type intro, but it's interesting that he didn't refer to it like a typical Jurassic Park intro, because that's, like you just said, we were lacking that in Jurassic World, but Jurassic Park has always had some sort of incident intro.
Yeah.
So this one, it sounds like maybe might be on a little bit more grander scale.
Grander scale. Yeah.
What do you think it might be, Chris?
I don't know. James Bond prologue makes me think of almost like corporate espionage or some sort of like get in, get out type of situation. You know what I mean? Like people trying to get into a place they're not supposed to be is basically, I imagine, an action scene with people trying to get in and get out of something.
Yeah, I definitely know in previous podcasts we have talked about what the intro is basically, like what the overall kind of subplot is. But for spoiler's sake, and just because we have always,
I don't think we have. I think we did it all when we weren't recording.
Oh, I can probably find the podcast.
I don't think we did. Yeah, I think that we left that unsaid.
Because they dropped it. It leaked.
No, but we never talked about it.
I'm gonna have to go back now. Damn it, Chris! Now you're making me listen to our own podcast.
I'm almost certain we never. But I'm not sure. We've been very careful. You can say maybe one item you think it involves.
Everybody knows, man. I mean, everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Do they though?
Everybody who listens to this knows.
I don't know about that. I don't think everybody knows. I mean, you can say one item you think it involves. How's that sound?
Water.
A bold guess, Ryan. A bold guess.
Water.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm excited to really see though how like exactly what he means by that and how it's delivered, and why is he likening it to James Bond? Is it the way that he filmed it? It's gonna be really interesting to see. From there. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just think I can almost see it like, you know how Ant-Man was really successful as a heist movie?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's kind of basically what we're probably we might see.
Like a tiny little heist, like a 5-minute heist prologue.
Mm-hmm.
But with dinosaurs.
Are we going to see some, like, that'd be funny if InGen has, like, you know, they're not just a genetics company, but they have, like, these gadgets. They're also, they're technology. Or, well, I don't know, maybe it's Mr. Ronnie, or I don't know, whichever company, you know, it's technology. So it's like they have these cool little gadgets. And
I mean, they had really cool dinosaur capture gear in The Lost World.
If you think about, I was just going to say,
I would love to see a return of stuff like that, to be honest with you.
For a toy's sake, it'd be like, oh, look at this cool technology that we've, you know, what are you trying to do? You're trying to take the dinosaurs somewhere? Like, you can't do that. It's okay. We've developed these super awesome dinosaur weapons. And, you know, but it's also like they have this technology and stuff like, oh, we're not going to let the IREX incident happen again. Tracking device? Thing of the past. We got satellite tracking, and like,
yeah, no, I totally agree. And then just have kind of dinosaur protection gear and dinosaur capture gear, like the way The Lost World did it, but then involving some of maybe Jurassic World's more zanier concepts, like the gyrospheres. I mean, I don't want to see a dino capture gyrosphere though.
No.
You know, I mean, I'll just be honest. Gyrospheres are not interesting to watch on screen. Like, I think that they're a cool idea, but they're like less cool to watch than they are as an idea.
Well, you're going to be sure as shit happy that you're in a gyrosphere once you plunge off of a cliff into the ocean.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I feel like those things are not nearly as strong as they need to be, considering like they were around like the sauropods, like the apatosaurs walking around, and the Indominus broke it like it was nothing. Imagine if one of them stepped on the thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think that. I mean. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like they were designed to roam around, amongst theropods and.
Like, I get it. Like, if a Triceratops charged it, it would probably be okay because it wouldn't have enough resistance for the horn to like breach. It would just go flying, which is its own horror show. But if it got stepped on by an apatosaur, like all bets are off, man.
Yeah, I don't know how they plan for that.
I don't know. Maybe my sort of headcanon for that scene is, remember how they're given those special wristbands or whatever? Mm-hmm. Maybe they were given manual control over the gyrosphere, and maybe there was like sort of like an invisible fence system where the gyrosphere wouldn't let guests get close to that close to the dinosaurs, and it would take over. And maybe they're like full-on control wristbands allow them to drive like right next to the dinosaurs
I dig that idea, but I'm going to take you a step further because I actually thought about this initially and you just reminded me.
Did you, Ryan?
Yes, I have always
Stealing
thought
my
this.
ideas.
I've always thought this. I thought this before you did and everyone else, even before the writers. So I'm assuming all of the dinosaurs have some sort of tracking device or chip within them located in case of, whatever. I almost considered the gyrosphere is, I guess that they can manually control it, but it's like an iRobot or a Roomba. If it comes in contact, has a sensor or whatever, and
it just kind of goes the other direction.
Yeah, the invisible fence is essentially each dinosaur, and so it won't allow you to come in with a certain amount of feet. It'll automatically turn away. I could see that. I mean, that's obviously a feature that they'd probably throw in.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like little things like that I would have loved to see Jurassic World actually acknowledge, because it's like those little elements of world building that I feel like Jurassic Park did such a good job with, that Jurassic World, it doesn't like necessarily make or break a film, but it certainly adds to that sense of like a real world with real roles and real sort of lived-in scenarios, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's why like I buy the volcano on Isla Nublar, But in Fallen Kingdom, like, I really hope that they they don't just go, the volcano's exploding. Like, I hope they kind of talk a little bit about, like, the history of the volcano and InGen and maybe geothermal power and have a reason for it erupting. Like, just a little bit of that, because it not only helps, like, logically ground the plot and people go, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but it also builds the world up and gives a little bit more depth to maybe the science behind everything and possibly opens up new opportunities in the future.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about how the park was ran on geothermal energy, I mean,
and Masrani Global is an energy company.
You got to tap into.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to tap into that system, and as we've seen, kind of in the baryonic scene, I mean, unless the lava is just going over buildings, I'm assuming that's underground or located within a mountainside or something like that. You're. It's like fracking. You're essentially destabilizing what was currently a stable system. So they might have said, like, oh yeah, well, we had geothermists and geologists come out and they said that the island was fine. But then it's like, well, yeah, it was fine until you tapped a bunch of pipes and cords and things into it and then made it, destable.
Exactly. And maybe as they actually ran the park and operated it, everything was fine. But now that the park's been abandoned for 4 years, maybe pressure has built up. Not everything's venting the way it should be because the systems are no longer running. It's no longer a natural system, and it required man-made assistance. And then what happens is the pressure builds up, and eventually the dormant volcano blows its top. But on top of that, you get like pyroclastic flows, you get actual lava flows. You sort of get all those different types of volcanic attributes that normally are only isolated to be one or the other. You have all of them happening because of man's intervention. And basically, they tried to harness the power of nature. They tried to control nature, and
boom!
It eventually created like such a situation that it spiraled out of control, and it
just another example of chaos theory. And
exactly, it fits the themes of Jurassic Park so well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, man-made issue could have been. But you caused this. Like, each thing that you do causes a natural...
Cause and effect. Yeah, and that is something that I really, really hope is actually in this movie, because that is so Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. Those sort of subplots and where everything sort of leads into it, and it really comes down to mankind really trying to control a situation and thinking they know best. I think that would be such a cool addition to the lore. And also, it would just be cool because Masrani Global was a energy company. It would be cool to find out, like, hey, they found out InGen did geothermal power, and they took it to the next level, and they used Jurassic World. It wasn't always necessarily about the dinosaurs. Maybe that was a side project. Maybe it was them beta testing geothermal power to bring it to a global market eventually. I
mean, there's all of these different sub projects going on the island.
I buy that a lot more than velociraptors for the military.
Yeah, I mean, it could have definitely been one of their other side projects. So absolutely. I'm okay. I mean, it's sad that it's Nublar, but I'm okay because this might present us an opportunity. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the islands based off the story, but you still got Sorna and the game. Even Evolution is gonna we're gonna be able to play on the different islands and kind of be able to expand into that realm as well. And then, like we said earlier, like we've got only really now in the past month just all these different merchandise toy ideas, and I gotta say, dude, like, I've never really been a Pops fan before, but
I've always thought they were cute. I've never bought them. I'm like, those are cool. I always would say, man, if they did Jurassic Park, I'd be broke.
Yeah, I have one Pop figure on my desk, and it's because it's the sloth from Zootopia, and it's because a coworker gave it to me, and I just have it on there. But I never bought a Pop. I got a buddy who has like just a ton of DC and Marvel ones, but I don't know which Jurassic Park Pop I want first, man. Like, which one? I'm like, where do I put this? Where am I going to put Malcolm? Like, laying broken leg.
Sexy Malcolm.
Sexy Malcolm.
Sexy Malcolm
is genius. That is going to be a top seller. Oh my God. Are they going to make so much money on
Target? I can't believe Target nailed that as an exclusive.
You can't believe it? Target's the smartest freaking company in the world.
No, I know.
I'm just kidding. But I love Target.
I can't believe they managed to get that as an exclusive, because that's such a that's going to be such a sought after figure. Like, it would have done fantastic in the normal line. So putting that as an exclusive, that's just intense, man. Like, that's going to be one. I don't know general pop collecting, but I do know Jurassic Park collecting to a degree, and I know that fans of the classic Jurassic Park movie haven't had anything like this to collect. So it's basically gonna be cutthroat between pop collectors trying to get it because they just collect pops, and then Jurassic Park collectors trying. I mean, man, that's gonna be a sought after item.
The Dilophosaurus, I think, is like definitely number one, or Sexy Malcolm and Dilophosaurus, kind of a tie. And then I kind of dig, little yellow-eyed raptor.
It's nightmare fuel with those eyes, but I do like it. I mean, it looks like, someone on Twitter said it looks like a demon from hell, and I definitely agree. Like, it is terrifying, but I like it. I love it.
It's interesting that they just didn't go with like the normal black, but they
eyes.
change it up every now and again, and I mean, I dig it. I'm kind of glad they actually did change it up, with the Velociraptor compared to everything else that they do.
Yeah.
But like, it's gonna be cool if we see like I know Jack's gonna be like, oh man, I want that Lost World Malcolm, and I want if we get like a Lost World series like Nick Van Owen, and those are characters that I think we could eventually see, and I just, dude, it's cool. It was almost funny too because when the announcement came, I'm like, wait, there's not Jurassic Park pop toys already?
Yeah, it's sort of nuts because I think Hasbro had the master license and they didn't basically sublease to Funko. They probably wanted to hold that that exclusive area in case they ever wanted to make little mini statues or whatever they would be. So I'm so glad that apparently, I am assuming Mattel holding the master license were probably the ones that cut a deal with Funko to let this happen. I'm so glad that did happen.
Yeah.
These are great. I mean, I'm gonna have to get the whole line of these. Like, there's no question about it. I mean, Grant Malcolm, Sexy Malcolm, John Hammond, Nedry, the dinosaurs, Ellie in the Jeep. I'm a bit bummed Ellie did not get her own figure. I hope that maybe a Wave 2. I'm hoping a Wave 2 Jurassic Park fixes that. And also Wave 2 could have like Muldoon, Ray Arnold, Dr. Wu, Tim and Lex.
Yeah, we'll definitely get other ones. This will do well. This will do really well.
So I've got a little bit of a thing. Do you want to know what the Jurassic World pups are? Sort of, because I don't know exactly, but I know. So there's Owen.
Wait, is this Jurassic World or like Jurassic World 2?
I should say Fallen Kingdom. Kingdom pups. They're coming out in June. There's going to be Owen. There's going to be Blue. And in parentheses, it says new sculpt, which I assume means it's not just going to be a straight-up repaint of the Velociraptor. If I had to take a guess, they'll close her mouth for Blue. So they'll close it so she looks a little less scary, because, Blue's supposed to be a hero dinosaur this time. Mm-hmm. Then there's one dinosaur called the Naughty Dinosaur. Yeah, and then there's one dinosaur called the Nice Dinosaur. If I had to guess, maybe Stygimoloch.
Nice Dinosaur.
Because it's the new herbivore. So I think Stygimoloch would make sense. Because Naughty and Nice, they're just making a little joke with it by not naming them. Nice. It will get the real name. It will get the real name once the thing comes out. And
I mean, that's funny because the only thing that makes me think of is Dilophosaurus because Nedry calls him a nice dinosaur.
No, it's going to be a new dinosaur because they weren't allowed to put the name on the early listings.
Dude, watch at the very end. Like we don't get Dilophosaurus, but then all of a sudden an adult Dilophosaurus comes busting through, and
I'm telling you, man, the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park, that's an adult. I'm telling you, I'm putting my foot down. That's an adult in the Jurassic Park universe.
The hologram?
No, in Jurassic Park, the size of the Dilo, that's not a juvenile, that's an adult.
Then why would Nedry say you're not so bad? You're not like your bigger brothers.
He's talking about all the dinosaurs on the island. He doesn't know his dinosaur species. He just meant you're not so bad. You're not like the Velociraptors. He's just kind of kinning them all together. Because even Spielberg said,
"What? You are changing my universe. Do not take this away from me."
Yeah, no, that's not a juvenile. I mean, they could certainly make it one if they wanted to. But no, the reason why they did the Dilophosaurus that size is because they just wanted the dinosaurs. They wanted something smaller than a raptor to be a threat. So they changed the canonical size of the Dilophosaurus in the movie. They made the Dilophosaurus small for Jurassic Park.
Oh my god, I thought Brothers was literal.
No, it was never meant to be literal. I mean,
I need to step away.
I mean, if honestly, if Colin Trevorrow for Jurassic World 3 decides to make the Dilophosaurus big, then you can say, okay, yep, he meant brothers now. But, like, no, that wasn't the actual intent of it. It's been interpreted that way, but the idea was, hey, no, this is the size of Dilophosaurus. Now, some people will say, hey, The Lost World canonizes adult Dilophosaurs. I'll dispute that, but that's for another podcast. Because it was just a background prop that implied that the Dilophosaurs were bigger.
You know, it makes sense if you're. I mean, look at the size of the one in the hologram in Jurassic World, and then look at the maquette that's going to be in the museum or whatever in Fallen Kingdom. That's the same size.
What's kind of funny is the one in the Jurassic World, the hologram, wouldn't be the size of the adult Dilophosaur that's implied in the Lost World. It's too small. But I think they just made it that size to be the same size as the raptor, so they
yeah, it was bigger.
To one another. Yeah, and then it was bigger, but it wasn't as big as like a real adult. A real life, like real world adult Dilophosaur.
Right, right.
Flipping it over to the Dilophosaurus in Lockwood's Manor, the statue, I think that's smaller than the one in the movie. From
JP?
Jurassic Park. Yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah, it's very tiny, which is kind of cool. But I don't know, I think they're just statues, but I still like to imagine those as being early cloning attempts by Jurassic Park, that kind of the animals died. And it's like an early version. Like if the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park is like version 1, then like the statue is actually a taxidermy animal of like version 0.7 or something like that. Yeah. Where it was still not viable. It still didn't live to adulthood. And as they stabilized the genome, sort of the look of it changed a little bit. I don't know. Yeah. Pointless subcanon that I would like to hear. But
besides that, we've got Barbie. That's cool. It is cool. I actually am I'm just glad that because we need to have as much content. Yeah, we need to have as much content that's, I would say, as unisex as possible. And the fact that we're going to get a Claire and Owen, Barbie, and Ken, that's awesome.
I think that's really cool.
Pez and Power Wheels, those were kind of cool. Of course, the Power Wheel is something I wish would have came out when.
Yeah, I know.
The first Jurassic Park came out.
Tell me about it.
Love that thing. The lights on top are sick.
And people were kind of complaining that it's not entirely accurate. The only thing I really care about is Jeep numbers, to be honest with you. Otherwise,
get the numbers right at least.
Otherwise, the rest of it, it's just stylist. It's artistic design, like an artistic difference. Just like even like the Funko Pop Dilophosaurus, it has red crests, instead of like the darkish green black crests. And to me, that doesn't really bother me because I'm assuming that's sort of like an artistic, a creative choice there, just to make it look better as a toy.
Yeah, I love that look.
It doesn't look wrong to me. You know what I mean? Like if it had like a completely different color pattern overall, where it didn't look reminiscent to the Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus, yeah, that would bug me. But like with the dinosaurs, you can have a little bit of creative freedom. The more cartoony you go with them.
Speaking of cartoony, I'm gonna skip ahead because the stuff that's kind of been revealed at the London Toy Fair, those are briefly, I guess, worth mentioning. But I mean, it's basically previous dinosaur model kits that you've seen before in every other store with the Jurassic World
logo
stamp on it. So, yay!
Unless it looks different, and that's literally like the placeholder product image, and the final one will look more Jurassic Parky. But I mean, they're cool.
I saw somebody comment yesterday, like I forgot who it was, but whoever you are. You made me laugh because it was like, what you think because you're going to take a previously used skeleton toy product that's been around for years and you slap a Jurassic World logo on it that I'm just going to all of a sudden go out and buy it. You're damn right I am. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I probably won't, but it's just like, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. It's funny. It would be cool if maybe they end up basing some of them off the Lockwood dinosaur skeletons, so you can make your own little Lockwood Manor.
Or do display. the skeletons in the visitor center in Jurassic Park.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be very cool. Yeah.
That I'd be like, hell yeah, that'd be kind of a cool little statue, to put on my shelf. But skipping ahead, you just announced today you want to talk about the creepy, nightmarish...
The Factory Entertainment just announced a new line of products called Revos, which is short for Revolutionary Vinyls. and essentially they're on like a stable but wobbling base, and they're sort of like super deformed characters. They kind of remind me of like a late 90s, early 2000s toy that would be like in the aisle with like those little what were those, like those little finger skateboards?
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't this look like something that would be sitting right next to them on the toy aisle?
It's okay. Let's just talk about Grant for a second, because the side profile of Malcolm, like, that actually kind of looks good. Like they've they've kind of got like his lips and his nose and everything down.
Yeah.
But like, what the hell is up with Grant? Is he crossing his fingers on on his left? Is he like, but like his face. First, it's like they use the same lips as Goldblum, and then his weird bug eye. I don't no.
He's creepy looking. But these are early mock-ups. They're not shipping until Q3 of this year.
Okay, well, you got some time.
And these are just flat-out renders. So the items that are going to debut at Toy Fair, like the actual physical items, they might look a little bit different anyhow. So this is something that I think that it'll definitely probably have more charm when you see it in person and see the actual physical item, as opposed to like a render.
I sure hope so, man.
But yeah, Grant does sort of stare into your soul.
And then the Raptor Gallimimus / little mini toe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like it's a hybrid.
It's weird because it's not stylized enough. It just sort of looks like a low detail, not accurate Raptor.
You're absolutely right, though. Where it looks like
it should be stylized. Like, they need to find a way to stylize the dinosaur to match, because look how stylized those two are, and then there's that.
Yeah.
They need to find a way, like, give it really big feet and a big head, and kind of make the head a little cartoony but mean looking. And then they've got a winner on their hands. The paint job's interesting. I feel like, again, I'm not really going to call the paint job wrong or right until I see the final item. It seems weird with the design not being super cartoony and kind of sort of more like a vague interpretation of the Lost World paint job mixed with like the desert raptor from like the Camo Extreme Hasbro toys.
Yeah, it is interesting.
They're fun. I think they're fun. I think that I'll like them. I think if I saw them in person, they're about $10. I would definitely buy them. But that's because they're Jurassic Park, and classic Jurassic Park 25th anniversary packaging. I can't really say no to something like that, especially cheap.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully it changes a little bit, because I mean, kind of going off these designs, other than the Malcolm one, it's a little Happy Toy or Happy Mealish for me.
They're a little creepy. But yeah, again, I realize I'm not the prime, like, although I'm a Jurassic Park fan, I realize I'm not like the prime market for like that type of collecting. So I know there is a market for stuff like that, to be fair.
Yeah.
The other thing they gave us a preview of to exclusively debut is this I love, man, is the Velociraptor bottle opener. Velociraptor claw bottle opener. That is
cool.
That is so up my alley. It is going to be way too big to properly carry around all the time, but Grant figured out a way, so I will too.
Is that your hand?
That is not my hand. That is not my hand. That is one of the designers there.
Oh,
yeah, they snapped those photos. I think they snapped it just for us, to be honest with you.
Are we getting some samples? Because we
need to have like a proper party, make sure it works, everything like that.
We need to plan another Philly trip and get some of these out. And because they're awesome. They're almost
I love it.
They're almost like a replica, a gold or is it gold? Silver?
I don't know. It might be silver, but it's catching
it's like
a little bit
bronze-ish
of like a
kind
tint.
of. It's a cool metallic, whichever it is, and
it's like a brushed steel.
It's pretty much a replica of what Grant has in his pocket.
Yeah.
It's not the thick, chunky one that you kind of
it.
sometimes see, like where you're like, "Whoa, that's a sickle claw," like the fat, chunky one you saw in Jurassic Park 3. Like, this is the actual kind of bone, and then they like perfectly made a bottle opener on the tip, or not on the tip, on the jointed side, and I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is one of the cooler Jurassic Park products. I wonder how they're going to sell it, if it's going to get like a little cool piece of packaging or something, because I'm probably going to buy one to use and one to like keep. That's something I'll collect.
That's a must for sure.
And then finally, the Jurassic Park sort of the gates, which is a really cool like little statue. They showed that off at San Diego Comic-Con, and that's an older photo from then. I've been told that they will be debuting sort of like the final prototype, if that makes sense, like a more refined prototype that's at a New York Toy Fair, and we'll have an idea of price and shipping once they bring it to New York Toy Fair. So I'm really excited to see that developed further and
Cool.
find out when I can buy it and for how much, because that's a really nice tabletop piece.
I almost want to put it on a cake or tie some string to the top and hang it as an ornament on my tree. But I can tell it's bigger than an actual ornament.
It's bigger than that. I think that I remember seeing a close-up photo, and honestly, this is from a YouTube stream and like a lower quality YouTube stream, so sort of the blotchiness is probably from the compression. I think it'll look pretty slick in person.
It kind of looks like broccoli's growing out the side for trees, but I mean,
You're just hungry. You just want a salad. Wait,
I do need some greens in my life.
Yeah, I could use some greens, and I don't mind broccoli, but let me just put it out there. I definitely don't put broccoli on salad, so I don't know why I put those two together.
No. Yeah,
that would be weird. That would be really
not my
weird.
thing. Give me
Don't
some
put broccoli on a salad. That's gross.
I like arugula and kale,
Oh, you would. No, yeah, that is good.
No, it is. Anyway, but yeah, what it kind of, all of this boils down to is like, dude, it's the 25th anniversary.
We're going to get some cool merchandise.
And there's so much merchandise coming. It's so, not only, even if it wasn't the 25th, just the fact that Fallen Kingdom, they're learning from, obviously, the success of the first film, so there's going to be so much more. Mattel, like you had said, maybe branching out some licensing. We're getting, aside from Chronicle, the company down in Brazil.
Iron. I don't know why. Iron Studios.
Yes, thank you. Iron Studios.
Which I saw that statue in person. By the way, it is just goddamn beautiful.
Yeah, it looked dope. It looked really good.
It's so good looking. It was going to Comic-Con Brazil, Comic-Con Experience Brazil. Also, was just such a fun time, man.
I had no idea that you were going. I knew, but it was like, hey, I'm going to Brazil. Like, okay, bye.
So last minute, it all happened so last minute that I had to I was just running around like a chicken with my head chopped off. I'm like, I've got to make sure I have I got to go get a visa, and I got to make I made everything.
Oh,
happen.
You didn't have any of that?
No, I had nothing. I made everything in less than a month. I made everything happen for travels.
Nice.
Which just, yeah. But it was a really great opportunity. I'm glad that I had it, and I had a ton of fun. Brazil was a lot of fun. I wish I could have experienced more of it. I met some really, really awesome people. I met J.A. Bayona for a moment or two as well, which was cool.
That's awesome that you got to. You saw both Trevorrow and Bayona, but you got to Bayona, so that's cool.
But
this is, the fact that you went was cool. You got to see not only some of that merchandise, but the trailer, drop before everybody else. So you're a lucky bastard as usual. You always get the cool stuff. That's why people hate you. But there's so much JP stuff in the works, and I'm still talking to you, Universal. You could still work on your marketing a little bit. But the fact that we're just getting more than what we usually see, especially even when a movie comes out, that's exciting.
They just need to work on a steady flow of sustainable content and sort of expanding the universe, both in marketing and in canon. I think that is sort of the flow that they need to get into, the workflow there.
The thing I was going to tell you about earlier, real quick, just to do a little bit self-promotion for myself. Thank you very much. I've kind of taken a big step away from not so much Outpost, but I had a baby. My wife did. I didn't actually. That wasn't me. But we had a baby.
Taking credit for everything, Ryan.
And really trying to focus more on my art, and focusing on freelancing and also my job as a graphic designer. And talking with a lot of people in the industry, there's a lot of fans of Bayona, but I've kind of seen or asked, because I'm totally into the alternative poster movement right now. I definitely tweet and talk more about that more than I do Jurassic Park these days, and it's interesting because I've wanted to kind of get people's takes as to you think we might see alternative posters for Jurassic Park, or because last year or was it 2015 that we had all of the Mondo releases. Or was it earlier than that?
No, the Mondo releases, or if you're talking about the Jurassic World ones, they came out after the movie. But there was the Mark Englert piece before the movie.
Well, there was Englert, but I'm talking about like there was the one, the Muldoon piece, and
some of them were before, some of them were
Franklin
after.
Piece, and a lot of people within the industry who did their own through Mondo. I just can't remember who did it, but the fact of the matter is, like, I was so stoked to see alternative posters made, and I think that a lot of the hype that builds around a movie kind of translates into that. When Blade Runner came out, there was so much art that came out for it that honestly, that got me really hyped about the movie. And I think we've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, I'm gonna do my best to try and do some stuff for Jurassic myself, just because I love drawing dinosaurs. But long story short, I've asked a lot of people, like, what are your thoughts? What do you think we're going to see? And it's kind of mixed as to Jurassic World. I think kind of tainted, just that movie alone kind of tainted people within the art industry, in the design industry, because some of the designs in Jurassic World were a little strange. So it's interesting to get their point of view as to, like, kind of like, what we bash the movie about, essentially design wise, is kind of things that they've seen as well. So I'm hoping that, again, that'll kind of change with this movie, and that, like, we'll get some hype around it, and we'll see some more art, because I'm loving all this merchandise. But for me, I want to see more of, like, the cool fan art and that kind of stuff. So as like, an opportunity to speak to the Outpost channel, I know that there's a lot of people who do just like to do their own fan art, and I mean, I would personally love to see submissions, at least between now and the movie, of scenes or your favorite Jurassic moment, or just any sort of dinosaur related fan art at all. Like, get that collaborated, because if we can kind of build that up and tweet that out and show it out, or show that paleo art is badass, and not only that, but we want to see just like maybe possibly more Mark Englert work, or more pros take a stab.
Absolutely.
Bayona was really receptive with the alternative poster site, Poster Spy, to work with the orphanage, and I think what did they do? Another one. And I certainly don't want to push the Jack, the owner of the site, to try and get Bayona to do Jurassic World or The Fallen Kingdom, but I would love to see something like that. So I think if we can get a rally of people showing the hype around this movie, and I imagine it would almost have to be Universal that would have to kind of greenlight it and approach it that way. But if Universal really realized, hey, there's a big demand for this type of artwork, and people want that artwork not only to see it, but they want it to be available as a product that then they can buy and own and support. Look, I mean, you've got like artists like Kyle Lambert who do the promotional art for Stranger Things. If you've seen the Stranger Things art, or you've seen like some of the latest DVD releases for like Jumanji, like, it's funny. I've been in contact with him actually about it. Yeah, I know you have, and I would love to see somebody like him do cover art for even the classic DVDs. Like, they just released Jumanji with his cover art, and it looks beautiful. It's got like a Drew Struzan almost kind of feel to it, but I mean, honestly, like that Blu-ray cover art for the Blu-rays that they put out, that's atrocious. Exactly, like, what I'm getting at. Bring him in, do new artwork, and just, it does not need to be like, don't recall the ones that they printed, just sell them out or whatever, but make a running change. So guess what? Maybe by early next year, that same exact SKU is going to be out with new cover art, and fans are going to want to collect it as collectors, and it's going to do a better job representing the brand and representing the quality of the brand that really should shine like a beacon, to be honest. Exactly. If there's one thing I've kind of learned at my company, because we are sales driven there on the Amazon channel, and the company I work for is a third party seller, but I am a graphic designer, so I kind of do my own thing. But one thing that I kind of learned in the business sense of with product placement and just products and like big companies in general is really brand protection and brand integrity and upholding that. And I mean,
it matters actually. Like people try to pretend like general audience don't know and don't care. They do.
Oh, they do, and you've got to make sure that you keep a firm grasp of that, because as soon as you start to slip, and these Blu-ray covers is exactly what I'm talking about. They are atrocious. You took Photoshop images of Papo, Kong Skull Island, and you didn't even take the source material and put it on. You could have taken a freeze frame from that exact scene and filtered it in a way and made it into a beautiful cover without changing it the way that you did, or changed the Stegosaurus's head into a fucking triangle. I don't understand.
I don't know. And how
I'm
did
getting
that
so
pass
mad talking about it. Like,
not only how did a graphic designer design it, because there's so many issues with like the cover of Jurassic Park. Like Grant isn't looking at the T-Rex, pretending like the T-Rex was the right T-Rex. Grant's not even looking at it. He's too small for the car. I mean, he's like, the car is huge, or he's miniature.
Insane how they have.
Then it has the wrong Rex head. The Rex has 3 fingers.
Yes.
I haven't even seen the back of the cover. But not only did a designer design that, and there's a lot of actual issues with it. Like, it doesn't look blended properly. There's some I like the way the car looks, and I like the way Grant looks if he was actually the right size and looking in the right direction. But it just doesn't look good. And then on top of that, it went through multiple layers of approval.
I can't.
How?
I don't. Universal. I cannot tell you enough like how much of a love-hate relationship I have with you. I cannot understand how you would let something like this get by with such a huge franchise of yours. And as a designer myself, I am absolutely appalled that you would get away with such laziness and fundamental design flaws. Like, you have broken every rule in the goddamn book, and shame on you. Start sourcing,
and not for a creative risk. You didn't break the rules for a creative risk. I mean,
start sourcing artists and illustrators and designers who actually will put real attention and I can't think right. Like, just attention to detail in what they're doing, and do it right, so that, like you just said, like, I want a collector's edition, and I saw that Jumanji cover, and I'm like, yeah, I like Jumanji.
It's goddamn beautiful.
But like, that's a damn beautiful cover, and like, that's a piece of artwork that I would like get a nail gun and just staple that DVD to my wall, and that's what I mean. Like,
you don't like Jumanji.
No, I love Jumanji, but like, I wouldn't. I've never thought to like own it as a collector's, or like
fair.
So that's what I mean. Like, just don't shit on your franchise and do things like this.
And I get it. That wasn't their intent. And maybe it comes down to the fact that, hey, the people that went to approve that, they don't know Jurassic Park. They looked at it. From somebody who doesn't know Jurassic Park, there were no outright errors. They're not some of these people aren't expected to know that's not the Jurassic Park T-Rex.
But
that's not the Lost World. That's not the Lost World Stegosaurus. So, to be fair, there is a certain level of approval that I understand that it went by, and these people aren't expected to be experts. And that's the thing, though, that there needs to be a layer of approval, and it needs to be the initial layer of approval that actually does that. And there needs to be proper resources for these, whether or not you hire a really good artist or you hire just sort of a bottom tier artist to make a Photoshop cover. They need to have proper archival resources to reference. So they need to not end up in a situation where they feel the need to use the wrong T-Rex head, or even end up using the wrong T-Rex head. There needs to be a proper, database, a data bank of files and assets that they can use. And maybe some of them have to be made new. And I'm sure IOM would love to make some new renders based off of Jurassic Park. It wouldn't be entirely perfect, but if you needed some key art like that to change, maybe you can blend a frame with a newly rendered Jurassic Park T-Rex head. It might not be entirely perfect, but it would look better than that. That's for sure.
It's insane that we're even like talking or defending about it, because what they did was
it's a very real discussion, though, that I really wish could candidly happen between us and Universal, to kind of be like, yo, how did this happen, and how can we help you make sure this doesn't happen again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it boils down to. It's like, look, we want, like, we are essentially your marketing company, and we want to uphold your brand integrity. We want to do what's best to like have a face brand value that everybody can like go, wow, like the Jurassic Park franchise, like that's amazing, like that's cool, like they do with Star Wars and shit. But you are like with that kind of stuff, you are literally just taking a massive shit on your brand, and it's just a slap in the face to every designer out there that can like a monkey could do a better job than that. And
it's
just a slap in the face of people who are like, what? Like, I could have taken that. I would have gladly have taken that job for free and done a better job.
Exactly. Jurassic Park is such a beloved franchise. Like, I mean, honestly, you shouldn't be, and they should never be bringing in artists to work for free anyhow.
No,
but
absolutely
it's such a beloved franchise that there are amazingly talented high school students out there in this world that could have done way better quality content, that are bigger fans, that would have done a better job, and truthfully, they would have done it just as a project for school. But the reality is they don't need to pay someone a ton of money to work on Jurassic Park. I mean, they should pay them the fair industry rate. But what I'm getting at is whomever designed that, it looks awful, and they probably paid a healthy chunk of money to have it done.
Yep.
And that's too bad. They need to eat that cost. They need to revise those covers. Again, don't eat the cost as in withdrawing the covers off the market. I'm not going to say anything that dramatic. It should have never happened. Learn from that mistake. Never let it happen again. And fix it. And fix it fast. And
yes. Do a re-release fast, because those are, like, you're trying to sell these damn things.
Jurassic Park's 25th anniversary of all times as well.
Yes.
Like, it just fix it. Come on, like, fix your shit.
Yeah, just fix it. Anyway, on that note, it's the 25th anniversary coming up. We've spent. This was originally supposed to be 30 minutes long. It is an hour and a half. If anybody's still listening, thanks. Hey, we're still here. So we got to wrap things up.
Yeah, as a little quick footnote, again, February 4th is the Super Bowl?
Dude, I love football, but I don't even know, because it's the Pats, and I do not care. Go
I think
Minnesota.
February 4th is the Super Bowl, and that's when we expect the next Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I don't want to say trailer, probably extended TV spot, so it'll be like with Jurassic World, where it'll be a minute-long sort of mini-trailer, and then in, I don't know, March or April, we'll probably get the full second trailer, and maybe that might be the final trailer.
And don't be surprised if the Super Bowl has maybe a few new shots, but we see just like the behind-the-scenes shots as well.
No, I think it'll be a lot more new shots. Just like the Super Bowl trailer for Jurassic World was like kind of a whole new trailer in terms of like its subplot that it delivered on.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
So I think that we'll get like a little bit more island action this time.
Yeah.
Like not just the volcano. I think we're gonna get like more in the mud with like the characters, if that makes sense. Like all the characters, and maybe kind of get an idea of what each of their goals are on the island. We know Owen's there to rescue Blue, but like, why is Ted Levine's Wheatley there? Why is Zia there? Why is Franklin there? I think that we might kind of get those answers and see some of the scenarios that they end up with in the next trailer. And I just hope it doesn't have any major spoilers, because I don't love that Carnotaurus scene because it's kind of cheesy, but goddamn, I wish I could have seen it in theaters first, and not in the trailer.
Yeah, I hope that's not the biggest scene that we. No,
it can't be. No. But it might be the biggest, most over the top dinosaur like kind of keyframe shot in the movie. It honestly might be.
Yeah.
But I've said my piece on that. Honestly, the other thing that I want to say is Toy Fair, February 17th, is coming up,
yeah.
And I mean, Mattel in the past has basically said like, oh, hey guys, keep an eye on Toy Fair for the Jurassic World toy reveals. And if Mattel is going to be there, I think like basically every company and partner is going to be there. I wouldn't say with every toy. Certain more spoilerific ones are still going to be kept behind closed doors, but they're going to be there. There are going to be a lot of reveals, and I can say I'm going to be there covering in person.
Oh, you will?
I will be at Toy Fair.
Surprise, surprise! Finding out here first, folks. Even myself doesn't tell me anything.
I know, I'm horrible.
I'm just kidding, dude. I haven't talked to you actually in a while. So.
I know, right? God damn it, Ryan. I feel so betrayed.
Well, I mean, it's like we all talk on social every day, but I haven't talked to you officially in a while.
But so anyways, there is a lot to kind of stay tuned for. Let us know let us know what you want to hear us talk about in the next podcast. The problem is these are so infrequent that they always devolve into news roundups rather than maybe finer tuned discussion points. So kind of let us know what you want to hear about us. From us about on the next podcast, and we'll try to make it actually happen one way or another. Maybe even if it means separating the podcast into different teams and units, like little weird podcasts like today, where it's just not the normal format at all, and not the normal team at all.
there's definitely a lot of things that we could still develop on, but like Jack always says, like we have our own lives, and we do this ourselves. We don't have like a
we don't get paid for Jurassic Outpost,
and it's kind of like we very makeshift. And like I said, it was a 30-minute conversation that turned into an hour and a half, and that's
comes
kind of how
you
it
and I
goes
actually
sometimes.
wanting to talk about these subject points over something other than Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, this is like I said, a result of us not talking in person for a while.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunately now to the viewer's expense. But
well, hey, I hope you enjoyed some of the discussion. Or at least I don't know. I hope you got what you wanted out of a podcast from this podcast, because I don't usually host these. Although Ryan helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like every time I'm in one, it's kind of a shit show. Everybody's like, less of whatever's going on here and more Jack. We need more British tones, because he's very good at keeping it. Like, this would have definitely been 45 minutes had Jack been here. But, that's...
Absolutely. But I think the other cool part, though, is we got to go we had a chance to have a deep dive into some of the conversations.
It's like, Dad's gone for the weekend.
Let's really talk about it. Have I talked about feathers lately?
Yeah, you got the two dino nerds in here, so...
Yeah, But honestly, no, I'm kind of excited. Again, the first Fallen Kingdom trailer really put me off, but I'm kind of getting back into the gear of things where I feel optimistic and excited, and plus there's all this really cool merch, and it's just a fun time to be a Jurassic Park fan. So
definitely.
Honestly, our next podcast will probably be our reaction to the Super Bowl spot. So until then, stay tuned unless any major news drops, or unless we actually decide to do a normal podcast where we just talk about things and not just talk about news.
Yeah.
But thanks for listening, and this has been the InGeneral podcast, and I should mention the InGeneral podcast has been brought to you by Audible. Sign up for a free trial or something today. Assis, maybe you can edit that part.
He'll throw in that thing. Also, make sure that you check us out on Twitter, Jurassic Outpost, and Facebook as well. We're also on the Instagram, Jurassic Outpost, all of that good jazz.
And we all have our own personal accounts where you can follow our zaniness in... For some god-awful reason, you actually want to follow me on Twitter. I'm not sure why, but hey.
I wouldn't advise it, but I mean...
Yeah, Anyways, this has been This has been InGeneral podcast, episode 68. Until next time.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, hello there. I hear you're a fan of dinosaurs and Jurassic Park. Well, check this out. Audible has got a deal that is perfect for you. Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial for you to check out their great service. Since Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is coming out next year, why not go back and listen to the first Jurassic Park novel written by Michael Crichton on audiobook? Or, if you're interested in something brand new, why not go check out Michael Crichton's novel Dragon Teeth? Hey, you might even be interested in something brand new, why not go check out Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg? To download your free audiobook trial today, go to audibletrial.com/ingeneral. Again, that is audibletrial.com/ingeneral for your free audiobook. One more time, why not? audibletrial.com/INGENERAL. Thank you, Audible. We love you.